My name is IanKelso. I am the CEO of Interactive Ontario. We're the organizers of GameOn Finance, and this is our third edition, GameOn Finance 2009. And this year we have a bigger gathering of people interested in sort of financing video games across a lot of different platforms, from the traditional next generation console game down to social games, and even a little bit of learning and applied games and serious games. So we're here to talk about what innovation is happening around how people are financing their games and where the connectivities are between the financial community and the creative community. Obviously, there's been some really interesting things happening in the province, in the past few months. I guess since in 2009, we had an increase in our tax credits. And I can't remember if they had already been announced when we had our conference last time. So since our last conference, we had an announcement that tax credits have been raised here now to 35% or 40%. So very aggressive new tax credits. I think more important than that is the tax credits have also been unleashed. A lot of the restrictions that were on the tax credits have been taken away. So almost any company can qualify for the tax credits now. Doesn't matter what the size of the company is, as long as they're creating their projects here in Ontario, obviously. And something that just happened again, I guess last week, was we got the ability to annualize the tax credit now. So companies that are creating longer term projects, like console video games that take 2-3 years, you were able to file for and get money on an annual basis from the tax credit. So those things have certainly made Ontario a little bit more competitive as a place to make video games. The other big news was, of course, Ubisoft announcing a large studio operation opening up in Toronto, and that sort of, I think, complements out well the very lively independent scene that we have here in many parts of Ontario, but especially in Toronto, a lot of very small, lively, interesting companies. The challenges overall are two things, really. It's talent and it's money. And the two things go hand in hand. It's hard to build a thriving cluster when you don't have the kind of mobility for people. If you're going to get the best and the brightest to move to Toronto or to London, Ontario, or to St. Catharines or Ottawa, you want to make sure that when they get there, if things don't work out, they've got someplace else to go. So, you're going to get somebody that's a senior person. They're going to want to, settle down, bring their families. So you have to have an ecosystem. You have to have different types of companies, a different size, and you have to have the ability for people to make choices and have alternatives. With a small independent scene, it's great for very young people who have less obligations and are free to move about a little bit more than. But it's hard to get the senior talent. So having a company like Ubisoft, along with there are some other larger companies with smaller operations here, it creates a better overall diversity inside the industry, and it gives a lot more opportunity for options. So attracting that senior talent becomes, is a very big, success factor for the industry. And that, of course, then attracts financing, and you get a lot more visibility when you've got the bigger companies. Obviously, the investors take more notice, and Toronto, has traditionally been a financial engine for Canadian, for Canada in English language media especially, and it hasn't been so much traction with the digital media industries, and there's been, I think, a lot of there's been a lot of need to learn about what some of the new opportunities are. The downturn in the market, I think, has created the need to find new ways of creating value, and there's still a big gap, I think, between what investors know now and what they have confidence in. And what some of the potentials are with some of the digital media content. I hope so. We've been making a lot of effort to get people flowing around the country. I find that it's kind of funny because we hang out with Quebec people more in San Francisco or in Paris or in Germany when we're going to different events, and we tend to, because it's such an international market, be around the world much more than we are, visiting, across the country. And that's where a lot of publishers are, and in the games industry, up to now, everything has gravitated around the publishers because they've been the financiers of the industry. I think as that's shifting, and we're finding there's companies like in Montreal, like Innovia Capital, who are making investments in game companies, and there are companies like Van Edge in Vancouver who have just started a new fund and are showing leadership. So there's actually opportunities for growing your company, within the country, and and there's certainly a lot I think that we share culturally. There's a lot that we share in terms of some of the advantages that we have with the programs that we have, not just provincially. We're also working federally, looking at opportunities for the federal government to help to make Canada an even more competitive place to create video games. So I think there's things that a lot more we can do working together, and we should do more working together. So it's good to see such a strong presence from Montreal here at this event. It's even bigger than we would have hoped, and and I hope that we get a lot more companies coming to the Montreal Game Summit in a few weeks' time, and continue to have that interchange and that relationship where we can share. And it's in this industry. It's not always about. It's not really competition. There's a lot of co-opetition, as the old phrase goes. I think one thing I've noticed is having been in Europe a few times this summer, is that people now more than ever are saying there's something happening in Canada. Wow, I can't believe all the things that are going on, and Quebec is doing all this stuff, and now you guys in Toronto and in Vancouver, and it's just when you go to even an event like Game Developers Conference, you see such a strong presence from the country, and people are saying Canada is really a world center for video game production. It's really, it's becoming part of the brand in that industry, that, people are saying, I want to move to Canada. I want to move to Canada to make video games. And, that's something that's really a great thing to hear. And so the little bit that we compete with each other across the country, I think, is effective because it kind of pushes us each to do a little bit more, to make ourselves a little bit more competitive. And, overall, it's, a great reputation that we're developing and it's not just about the business. It's also about the creativity, and people are saying Canada, is not just a great, place where a lot of stuff gets made. It's not just a sweatshop or a factory for video games. There's some very creative work that's being done here, and some great franchises. And Ubisoft especially, makes great commercial franchises and very creative games. So.